Man, I wish we had snow. Like, it is so warm here. It's unbelievable.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like 10 degrees. I could have been working in a t-shirt yesterday. All the snow's gone off the mountain. Like, the kids are super bummed.
It is the opposite here. We've had a snowstorm every Sunday into Monday for the last 3 weeks. So the kids have missed school every Monday in January.
And you have to shovel your driveway and all that.
Shoveling the driveway and just kind of, it's a proper winter we're experiencing. Did I tell you what happened last weekend?
No.
So, you guys missed out on this, but basically there was an Arctic freeze across the whole of North America. I'm sure you picked up on the media, like Chicago, there were trees exploding in Tennessee because of the freezing rain.
Yeah.
And Toronto was the coldest place in the world. Last Sunday, it was minus 45 with wind chill. Here, what happened is I'm responsible for some Airbnbs, let's just say. Let's just say. And one of them is a cottage, and I got a text on Sunday morning. Of course, it's always on the weekend, saying the pipes are frozen. We can't get any cold or hot water. We can't flush the toilet. They had come up from Florida to experience a Canadian winter. I'm like, who the fuck does that? I'm like, wow.
There you go then.
You'll
That's what it's
never
like.
want to come back. Here it is, guys. So I go over there. I'm there within the hour. I'm underneath the crawl space of the cottage, and it's just sand dunes. And I'm moving rubble. Basically, I've got to find these pipes and defrost them.
With a hairdryer?
Yeah, well, people kept saying, oh, get an area heater down there. And I send them a photo of like, this is the beach. You can't put an area heater in the beach because that's what's under this house is a beach. Literally, I said it's up, sand dunes that go right up to under the flooring and then dip down, and it's lots of pebbles. And thank God, and it was minus 24 with wind chill, so it was pretty horrible conditions. So I'm under there moving rubble, and thank God the Ukrainians saved the day. They showed up and once again just absolutely crushed it. They basically spent 2 hours trying to resolve. They put heat tape, as I had been told you need to put heat tape. So you plug it in.
Yeah, and you wrap the pipe.
At the pipe. But they said the problem is the pump in there was overheating and would have blown. If I'd been left alone in this situation, it would have been really, really bad because that pump would have blown because it was overheating because it's constantly trying to draw water from the well because it's a well. And so they just don't stop till they find a solution. And that's what I find so impressive. They don't say, oh, you're going to have to call a plumber. You're going to have to call, this isn't we're not insured for this. Nothing. They just keep going and going. So they did the heat tape. They did the kind of black foam noodles around the plumbing. They defrosted everything. They got the pump normalized. And then, of course, they switched everything back on to see if water would run, but the well was frozen.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm there with these guests going, hi, guys, we're going to sort this out. Don't you worry. Here's my Sportsplex membership so you can go and have showers at my gym.
Oh, my.
Oh, and I'll bring 10 gallons of water because basically one of the Ukrainians said, Yuri, they won't be able to flush this toilet and it will take gallons and gallons of water to just flush a toilet. So, if this well doesn't defrost, you're looking at several days of not being able to flush. So that means I need to be available. And I was going to bring those kind of 5-gallon paint tubs, so they could just pour it. And then I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I refund? They've got nowhere to go. We've just got this storm that's hitting right now. So basically they're stuck. And so the Ukrainians put that one of those hair dryers, but industrial hair dryers down the well. They fed it down and balanced it just above the water because the pipe was frozen as well. And they said, come back in 2 hours and just see if anything works. So I did. And I think what was interesting throughout the process, because I'm really trying to be, we talked last time about trying to transmute drama and not not kind of get emotional in those moments, not catastrophize. And so I was just kind of observing myself and just kept repeating over and over. After 2 hours, they said, you've got to go and get pink bats. You need to insulate the opening of the well, because part of the issue here is that the concrete well with the lid on is freezing all the way down into the water. So that needs to be insulated. So while I was waiting 2 hours for this hairdryer to defrost the well, I went and got all of that. And these guys had to leave. So they left me alone to figure this out. And on the drive back to this cottage, the whole way I was just saying, everything works out in my life. Everything goes well. Everything gets resolved.
Were you saying it in a mad way or like an actual?
No. I was like, I was praying like, no, I was like, please let the pump work. Please let the toilet flush. Please let the water run. These things always work out. I have a way of everything works out for me. It always works out in the end. I was just basically kind of manifesting in desperation, but also kind of going, that is true. Everything does somehow work out. And what would I have done without these guys? Like just practicing gratitude.
Yeah.
I show up there. The guests are gone because they're gone to this sportsplex to go have a shower. And I walk into the cottage and I'm just flipping the switch on the panel to get the pump working. And then I go up to the faucets and I'm just crossing my fingers and they all just turned on. And it was such an amazing feeling. And then I went out to the well and kind of pulled out this hairdryer. And then I started wrapping it. And by this time you've got a proper snowstorm kicking off.
Oh, gross.
And I don't know whether this insulation's going to work. But I wrap it. I've got enough to wrap it round twice. Then I'm cutting it with scissors to place it on top. And then the guests come back.
Are you
and
all itchy?
No, because I'm wearing snow gear because it's minus 24.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this, in pretty poor conditions, and then the Airbnb guests show up and the men come out and start helping me wrap this pink bats. Then we wrap a mattress protector, like plastic, over that. Then I get a barbecue cover and wrap it over that. Then I'm putting rope around because I'm just finding whatever I can find lying around. I wrap it with rope and then I put stones, rocks all the way around the bottom. And then
And it's worked?
Well, that was 6 hours of the day, and I didn't hear from them for another. They said everything was great. It all worked out, and I was so grateful. So then I come home, and the kids are going to their dads on the weekends, and it's really odd, empty, no dogs, no kids. So it felt weird. I don't love it. It's very disorientating.
Oh, they take the dogs too?
Yeah, the whole house just empties out.
Jeez.
And that's quite tough. I'm finding that really, it's just...
Yeah,
whereas when I was doing the nesting thing, I had a different set of adjustments. Like I was bouncing around people's houses. I was on the road.
Yeah.
I was a nomad. Now I've got the home, but no one's here.
Yeah.
So it feels really empty. And I really don't like it very much, especially with the dogs gone as well, because they can create routine and company. Anyway, I sat down. I'm like, right, that was a big day. I'll watch a show. And then I get a text from my tenant because we've got an in-law suite next door. She just said, I just had a freezing cold shower and the heat's not working. Well, what had happened is the tank had run out of oil because it was so cold. And the oil people, their truck had broken down 2 days earlier and they didn't deliver oil when I ordered it. And I said to them when they called, I said, I might run out of oil. And this has happened to me before, and it's just pissing annoying because you have to go with jerry cans to the gas station and do it yourself, right?
You can buy oil?
Well, it's diesel to put in the furnace.
Oh, it's a diesel furnace.
Yeah. It's through the baseboards get heated by oil. So I knew exactly what had happened when I got this text. I'm like, motherfucker, it's 8:30 at night. I just sat down. I just had 6 hours like under a cottage and dealing with all that crap. Okay, let's go to the gas station. I found our biggest jerry can, but the jerry can was full of regular petrol, not diesel. And I had nowhere to put it. And I thought, well, it's probably gone bad anyway because it's been outside. But where do I pour this? And then I thought, even if I do pour it out, if I put diesel in it, will it conflict? Because it's two different.
Should put it in your car.
What's that? Well,
Put the gas in your car.
but I didn't know if it had gone off, and it was, how sometimes it's been outside in minus temps.
Yeah, it would only go off over time, probably you got 5 months to use it.
Yeah, it's about 5 months old. I just thought it's not worth the risk.
Okay. Yeah.
So I call my neighbor 2 doors down, and I said, he's a sweet guy, and I said, what would you do if you were in my position? Like, where can I pour this, and would you mix it?
Down the sink.
Yeah, I was like, what do we do here? And he said, I just put oil in, I just put diesel in my mum's furnace today for the exact same reason. I've got a jerry can here, come down and get it. It's one of those big ones. So I go pick it up, go to the gas station, fill it up with diesel, and then my it's all over my gloves, it's all over my coat. My car stinks of diesel.
Oh, gross.
I drive home and it's too heavy for me to lift.
Yeah.
And then you got to take the cap off, but then you also have the little spout. And I know that if I'm holding this with one hand
everywhere.
and it's just going to flick out and pour everywhere. So then I call my neighbor up again. I'm like, hi, don't suppose you can. And this is while a snowstorm's happening.
Yeah.
So he wades up. He's like, there's considerate because I'm a single mum now, whatever. So he helps me. And then I'm standing there going, I know what I'm going to have to do next. I'm going to have to bleed the pipes, because as soon as an oil tank runs out, you get the bubble, right? And I said this to him and I wanted to play it down. I'm like, I'll be fine. I've done it before. Thanks so much for your help. So he trots off home. I come in and it's so tight, the little kind of widget that you have to, you have to get a kind of, I don't know what it is, wench. It was too tight for me. So I call him up again and I'm like, hi, this is the third time. He's like, I'll be up in 10 minutes. Every time I called him, I think he was trying to go to bed because he gets up at like 4 a.m. and it was getting later and later. And he's like, put my clothes back on, come back. He had never done it before. And we were both a bit kind of, is this the right thing we're doing here? So I call the furnace guy and he won't give any advice. Oh, it's a plumber. Because if the house blows up, he doesn't want to be liable. So he's like, I know what you need to do, but I can't tell you, because I don't want to be on the hook for it. Then I look.
But you could freeze to death if you don't light it.
Well, yeah, loads of, and also the pipes. That was the biggest threat, is the pipes bursting in the cold. So anyway, I looked at a sticker on the furnace and it was the furnace service guy. And this was at 9:30 at night now on a Sunday. And I call it and he instantly picks up. And I go, I just want to confirm that I'm doing the right thing here. And I sent him a picture. He goes, yep, that's right. You just wait until it kind of comes through pink. You want to see the diesel flowing. So we undid it. The diesel started flowing. Then we did it up, pressed the emergency button, the whole thing. Yay, the furnace is working. But now my house smells of diesel. My car smells of diesel. My clothes smell of diesel. And that was last Sunday. That was this time last week. And I just went to bed so grateful, for the help of these guys that literally were there in a heartbeat, and grateful that I was able to not engage with the drama and I just kept my cool the whole time. But that sense of satisfaction as well, because I learned so much. I'm like, finding my way. And it made me also think of Mum, who's been a widow for, 25 years. How many things she's had to overcome on her own.
Yeah.
And how, just I'm getting a lot now where things are kind of going wrong. I've got various properties I'm managing on my own and I have to just figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I'm just extremely grateful that I've got people that I can call who are very, very kind towards me.
Yeah, I mean, good for you for not losing it. Like, that's tough. I know that feeling though, when you overcome, like I get a strange satisfaction from having something where like really goes wrong and then you fix it.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying, right? Even though like it was painful, the journey getting there. But
yeah, I mean, I did feel really I did feel really satisfied at the end of that day because everything did work out.
Yeah, knowledge is power, right? And then you feel like, yeah, I know how that works now.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing I can just check. Like I know I know how to bleed a
Yeah.
diesel thingamajiggy, and
The
yeah,
frustrating thing as a woman is sometimes it doesn't matter how much you know something, you're just not strong enough to do it, and
no.
it is very
Mm.
frustrating.
But it's
Um,
that old that truth, right? Like people want to help. Like they feel actually pretty good when they help the single lady up the
yeah.
street.
I'm literally, oh God, it's like, oh, I've got my little round robin. But it's the same with like chopping wood. So I used to leave that to Joseph to do all the kindling. And then in the last 2 years, I just started using the axe, doing the kindling every morning. And part of my practice, I suppose, I've realized for the kids, it's so important for them to wake up in a warm house with the fire lit and that sense of you're taken care of, especially because we've been through quite a turbulent time.
Hmm.
For me, it's my priority in the morning to wake up before them, chop the kindling, get the fire going, and for them to wake up in a cozy, warm house where they
Mm.
can feel reassured that I've got this.
Hmm.
Because if I was a basket case and I was obviously, unraveled, I think they would find that very destabilizing.
Hmm.
So it's almost like these little things, and they'll comment on it. They're like, "Oh, our house is always so warm," and they
Hmm.
really appreciate it, which
Hmm.
is really makes it worth it. Makes it me realize those little things. Kids just want warm, safe spaces. Like as
Yeah.
a baseline, they need a lot more, but it's like that is actually something a tidy, clean space. They appreciate the order,
Hmm.
and as I've made this space more my own, I've realized how much that means to them where they're not in chaos.
Hmm.
So anyway, it was an
Yeah, makes
interesting
them
week.
feel secure, I guess.
Yeah, I really think it
Is
does.
your house only heated by wood fire?
So we've got an insert upstairs, and I've never turned the heat registers on in this house.
Just to save money. So you do have another option.
Yeah, I do. But the plumber came in and he said, "Have you never turned on your heat registers?" I said, "No." He goes, "How come your pipes haven't frozen?" I'm like, "I didn't even know that was
Yeah.
a thing." So basically, the downstairs, because this is a second, it's a split entry. We live upstairs. The insert literally pounds out. Like right now, it's just hot. It's like 25 degrees in here. But the downstairs is cooler. That's where some bedrooms are. And then you've got the furnace that heats the water and that actually takes the edge off the basement. And
Yeah.
there's a dehumidifier going, and all of those things help. But it's not,
Mm.
you wouldn't want to hang out there. It's a sleep space.
Mm. Yeah, it's a thing, right? Like having a fire would be your only sort, especially in Nova Scotia, where it's like it's always on your mind, right? Like, gotta keep the fire going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I've gotten up in the night to put logs on the fire. But actually, as our winters are not as hot, but back in the day, I used to do that every night. I'd be waking in the night to put a log on the fire.
yeah.
Whereas now, you just let it burn out. It doesn't get
Mm.
that cold here, so it's definitely changed. Yeah. And what's crazy is the insert is so efficient that all I need is one cord of wood every winter. So that's $400 for one cord of wood, and we'll have about quarter of a cord left to do fire pits in the summer. Like it won't even use up all of that. There'll always
That's
be
crazy.
surplus for next year to get us started. That's how
Yeah,
efficient it is.
I took Amelia to that new Rachel McAdams movie. It's like a horror type
Oh
of
yeah,
called
was it
Send
good?
Help.
Yeah,
Oh, it's really fun. It's totally
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
It's got lots of jump scares, and everyone in the movie theater was laughing, And
Excellent.
Amelia's really into horror movies. I don't know why, but that
Girls
one
just
wasn't
are.
really that's not a horror. It's more of a
No,
thriller,
yeah,
quite comical. But yeah, they're on this island, and the rain, this monsoon comes in, and their main thing was like protect the fire,
really.
And you think, man, for these hunter gatherer type of nomadic cultures, it takes so much effort to get a fire going that the thought of losing it and having to start from scratch again was like
Yeah.
they wanted to protect the fire more than the shelter.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. We just
Yeah,
take stuff for granted, right? We just flick a switch and on it
yeah.
goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely appreciative for this fire because it's so cheap. It's such an
Hmm.
amazing source of heat. And when the electric when we get storms and we get no power, it doesn't affect us. We get the
Hmm.
camp stove out and we've got the fire and we're golden.
Hmm.
So it's a massive blessing.
Rough country you live in.
Oh man, it's a lot. It's an,
Yeah,
this is
I
the
had
why are we here time of year.
my own little, because we have a septic field, right? Because we're out in the rural part of town, and it's not a gravity septic, so some septics run gravity, most of them, because you're on a slope, but because our land is flat, that big hump
Yeah.
that you,
Yeah.
so the sewage has to get pumped up onto the septic field, and I walked past it and I was like, oh, there's usually a noise coming out of that. What's going on? And so I popped the lid and I looked down, and the way septics work is you're supposed to have a crust. This is going to be a really nice topic, yeah. So like all of your waste comes out and goes into a massive tank, right? And then the number twos drop to the bottom, but then you have a crust where it's called a bio crust, where like it's activated by bugs
Yeah.
and it kind of eats away at stuff, right? And so is this the stuff that Tara hasn't got any clue like that I'm
I
doing?
wouldn't either.
So I open the lid and I put a stick in there and I have to poke through the crust, right? Which what that crust is. Shit.
And supplements.
And it's like keeps going and going before I feel like the release of it hitting like fluid. And I pull it out and it's supposed to be 6 inches crust. It's 16 inches, like on top, right? So I call the septic guy. I was like, is this not, and it stinks. And everyone in the house is just like, la-di-da-di-da,
Yeah.
and
You're
I'm like,
dealing with a sewage meltdown.
yeah, is this all right? He's like, yeah, no, you need to get your septic pumped. And I'm like, because it's my first time, right? Like you do it every 3 or 4 years. And so this guy shows up. He's a big guy with these coveralls, and he just backs the truck up. Beep, beep, comes out, pulls these massive hoses out. They're all rubbing against his coveralls, and this like, how's it going? He's like the most nice guy, and pops the lid and shoves it down there, and he's just like shoving
Puts
it
his
all
head
in.
down
And
there.
he's got like a paddle, and then he'll like paddle it and break it up, and then throws the paddle, and this ping stuff goes everywhere. And then I'm like, well, I've got another septic over there for the Airbnb. I'm like, maybe we should pump that too. He's like, yep, might as well. So he pulls the pipe out, and it's all covered in shit. It's just rubbing all over his coveralls. And he pulls it up, and he doesn't even. I don't think he even has gloves on. He must have like an immune system like bulletproof.
How much does he get paid? He better be paid really well.
Crazy. And he just does that all day. He just works like 14-hour days.
And his attitude towards shit must be so different than other people. Obviously, clearly, he just doesn't give a shit.
No, I mean, you quickly realize, like, well, growing up on a farm, you're always around cow shit. And I remember milking when the cow's udders were like at your eye level. and then they would pop their tail up and just take the biggest, runniest crap, and it all splashes in your face. And then they would piss, and it's like when a cow pisses, it's like a waterfall. and they're standing on because you're in a pit, right, to put the milk suckers on. Yeah, which is probably why that's why they don't like raw milk, because they think that the urine can get in with the milk, right?
Yeah.
Dorothy, the lady I worked for, she named all the cows. It was like 130 cows, maybe more. She had them all. Come on, Shirley. Come on, Jane. No, don't do that. And it always take a big dump right when you had them in, and it was always runny diarrhea, right? And so I had such a hot temper. I was like 14 years old or whatever, and they would take a shit, and I would grab this plastic pipe and whack them in the leg. And I'm like, just think that they did it out of spite. They're just doing what they do, but I took it so personally. But yeah, your relationship with all of that stuff, you just don't get so queasy about it. And then after you've drunk your own urine, it's like, yeah, whatever.
Well, then, do you remember at Crackington Haven where we would camp, constantly standing on cowpats when you're playing a game of like...
We would throw them like frisbees, remember, when they get all
when they're
crusty?
dried out. Just no. But I remember frequently standing on one that you think's going to be crusty and dry, but it's soft underneath and your foot just goes through.
Well, it's
That
like a
happened
marshmallow that's
all
been like
the
a s'more.
time. Yeah.
Like a s'more.
Oh, yes. I think that's why I've got an aversion to camping now, where you wake up in the morning and everything's damp and the mildew is coated on everything. And there's just this, everything's wet. I just
and then you have to crouch because
well.
the tent's so low and you have to like, and your
zip.
shoes are...
I don't have nostalgia about that. I hate getting my feet wet in the morning.
Yeah, me too.
You know, walking around a campground where you're getting damp feet and it's mildew and it's just, it really grates on me.
Yeah, and we would camp for like 2 months, right, in the summer.
Amazing. In the storms,
and then you'd run down to the bathroom and I'd be just dying to take a poop. And the guy would be cleaning. He had the sign out, the sandwich board. And I'll be like, oh, I guess I'm going off into the bush again.
Oh, it was so aesthetically horrid. Those toilets that really shouldn't, you know, it was like the toilet paper was more like parchment paper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It did nothing. And the cold and the what was it like? The floors were kind of green. They were concrete, but they were
and you would
moldy.
bleach the crap out of them. There was so much bleach in there. But yeah, that toilet paper was like prison toilet paper.
That was like totally
using
normal.
Like regular paper for your printer paper. That's how it felt on your butt. It's like,
yeah, it was like baking paper or parchment paper you used for cooking. And you would have to sit on the toilet rubbing it together to try and make it soft. Like, because in the end, you would wipe and it would just go, like it wouldn't do anything. It was just like floating on there. It didn't absorb nothing. No, it was for cooking.
That's why you need a bidet.
Yeah, exactly.
I am a huge fan of bidets.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Is it not cold water that comes out? Yeah, so it doesn't bother you that it's freezing cold water.
No, you can wait for the warm water, but that'll take like 15 minutes.
Okay, so you just tolerate it.
Oh, yeah, I can't stand when I don't have the bidet around.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's when you know that you've reached that point in life. It's like, does it have a bidet? You know, just that standard of snobbery.
Yeah, well, it's better. You don't use as much toilet paper. So much cleaner.
But in England, the bidet, or we would call it...
It's a separate thing.
Yeah, you'd have to have quite a big bathroom to have it next to each other.
Well, they're like, you can buy them for $50 at Home Depot. You just attach them onto your regular toilet.
Yeah, the attachment. Yeah. I might give that a go, actually.
Oh, they're great.
Not a bad idea. Yeah.
They're great. Yeah, and then I got that figured out, and then I'm like, he puts it all back together again, and I'm like, oh, something else. There's another noise that's supposed to be happening in one of the other ones. It's like a blower, which kind of like bubbles it all up. Gets it into a nice frothy stew, you know, like a Guinness.
Latte.
Just
a shit latte.
It's like a flat white.
Shit cappuccino.
And I pop the lid and there's this like fan blower, right, that's supposed to be blowing night and day. And it's literally completely immersed in water because of the rain. It's in the ground, but it just lets in water. Oh my fucking hell. So I got to pull that out. I have to order one from America. It takes 2 weeks to get here. Cost me $1,000. Put it in. It's a nightmare to put in there. I've literally taken that out. I tried to rebuild it myself and put it back in. Didn't work. Took it out again, rebuilt it. And when you take it out, you got to undo all the pipes. Put it in. Didn't work. So then I have to wait 2 weeks, and all the while, like the septic is just like any day now it's going to pack in because it doesn't have a blower. I put this brand spanking new one in there. And then it pours rain. I flip the lid the next day. It's completely immersed in water. It's a brand new one. I'm like, jeez, I take the thing out, dry it out, and I'm like really frustrated. And anyway, And then I put it in a second time after I dried it all out and took it all to pieces. And it sucks air in. It's really powerful, right? So it sucks air in and then blows air into the septic. So I've got the pump running, and this little voice in my head says you should probably shut it off to put the air filter back on it.
Right.
But I don't listen to it. So I'm putting the air filter back on, and it just sucks the plastic air filter into the intake and grinds it all up. So out the pump comes again, rebuilt it. Anyway, she's working now, I think.
She is. All I see when something happens, like I hear a funny noise, I just think dollar signs. All life is, how much is it going to cost me? That's all I'm thinking about.
Well,
you know?
I did. I had a sauna with my friends the other day, and last night actually, and we were talking about everything. And I was like, sometimes when I'm working, I have this little voice in my head saying like, you should probably do such and such because this isn't safe. And I'm rebuilding the barn right now because it's just rotten. And I'm cutting this wood, and I've got a tool of mine that's probably about $300 to replace, and it's lying on the floor. And my plywood is kind of lying almost on top of it. And I'm cutting, and I'm like, I should probably just stop the saw and move that. And I'm like, nah, I don't think my saw is going to cut that deep. And I cut right through the tool and cut the motor in half. Completely wrecked it.
So
And
painful,
I
isn't
just
it?
sit there. I'm like, Joey, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just stop?
Well, the
Pause.
amazing thing is your intuition is really quite loud that you get those little pointers and then completely ignore it. Like a lot of people wouldn't get them. You get them and then, nah, I'm good.
It's like I like the risk. It's like, oh, just risk it. It's so stupid. Now I got to go buy a whole new tool. It cost me $250 or whatever.
It's just excruciating, isn't it? And you can only be angry with yourself.
So what's going on with Epstein?
Oh,
I have
that's
no,
really
I have
affected
no
me.
clue.
Okay.
Like I just haven't
Just
even watched
if
the
you
news.
opened up Instagram, you would
I
be.
haven't. There's nothing there.
We're siloed then because but the thing is, what I've noticed with Instagram is, you hover on one story and then that's it for the rest of the day. They will throw that story in your face. So I think a friend sent me something to do with the case. So basically, my understanding is there's been the biggest dump load of files in the millions just released on the 31st of January, which has thousands of photographs, tens of thousands of documents, letters like emails between him and the elite. And obviously the internet is combing through absolutely every shred of evidence that's been dumped. And now they're saying, well, now we can see why there was such resistance to releasing this stuff, because the amount of footage, there's videos, photos, emails, and the network is so big as far as who it involves. And it's just so disgusting and disturbing that people are posting after they've spent the whole night reading all of this stuff, and they're just so distraught because it's like, when Theo Vaughan said recently, it's like the tip of the horn breaks through into our reality, where you get this peek behind the curtain of the level of evil that the elites and our world leaders are participating in. And it's that moment of and I already knew it was going on, and I assume a lot of people did. So it's not a huge shock, but it's always, but maybe for some people, they have trusted their leaders and government. I don't know, but it's so satanic, so disgusting what they're participating in: child sacrifice, drinking the blood of babies. There's a lot involving babies, masses involving babies.
Really? So do you think they were impregnating these young girls and then just using those? I guess
yes.
If you give birth on the island, there's no record of it.
There's no birth certificate. So there's accounts of 14-year-olds who are pregnant again with a baby that will be taken from them and used as sacrifice. They use them for organ harvesting. They drink blood. And there's lots of photographs, and it's very, very disturbing. You know what Instagram's like? I don't think there's anything regulating what
Have you
you
seen some of
see.
the photographs?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But they'll have like a black square over the child's face. But there's footage of these tiny little
Who's doing the
children.
acts?
Well, they'll have photographs of unconscious children. They'll have videos of small children on Epstein Island serving. They're running around like little servants, bringing water. There's a lot of Bill Clinton. There's a lot of Trump. There's a lot of this. One of the most sensational things is this guy called Peter Attai. Peter Attic. He's one of these Gary Brecker, Andrew Huberman types. You would absolutely recognize him if you saw him. And he's
Google him.
would just go to
Pull
your
it up, Jamie.
Yeah. Where's Jamie when we need him? You would absolutely recognize him. He's a bold guy. He's
I
called
think I know who you're talking about. Does he wear glasses?
No. If you go
Andrew?
to No, he's called Peter. He's in your Instagram. I just sent you a clip of him
Oh, yeah.
this morning.
He's Canadian.
Is he Canadian? Okay, so he's a health guru who talks about life longevity, and he's the guy who said we could absolutely live 150 years. And now it's more obvious why he's saying that, because he's very much involved, it would seem, in, there's lots of emails to him and Epstein where he's going to the island, where he's participating in this stuff. And I think people are really horrified. And I was trying to think, why is it that this health guru is creating such a sensation? Not the more politicians and elite, like, yes, Prince Andrew is there's some really awful photos of him lying over children, and it's really bad.
And it's public for everyone to see.
It's just,
and is the news just like losing their minds over this, or is it just kind of like, is it getting?
I think so, because a lot of this is the mainstream media saying, everyone's reeling. There's a photograph of Bill Clinton sitting in an armchair with Donald Trump kneeling, unzippering him on his knees. No, it's really bad.
It can't, and it's not AI generated.
No, because they've checked over it to make sure it's not. AI can check over images to say whether it's genuine or not. They've released so much stuff that's so shocking, it's really hard to process, and I think people are really struggling to process it.
Who released it?
Well, the government had to. I think that's what happened, is Trump's been resisting, trying to fob this off, and now it's more apparent as to why, because there's something like, I don't know, 1,700 emails between him and Epstein. There's this number count of how many. Elon Musk begging Epstein, can I please come down to the island? I've cleared my schedule. It's all just for fun. Basically, the elite falling over themselves to be part of this. And just, it's sickening. I actually feel really nauseous, and I'm trying to kind of get over, like, I can't go on there. I know you don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
It's just, it was like when Charlie Kirk died, and, every other reel was him being shot. And in the end, it's addictive, but also just grotesque and disturbing.
Yeah, it's like porn.
It's really not pleasant. But this guy, Peter, Attia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
I was thinking, like, why are people so upset about him and not more upset about other people? And I really, from my perspective, what it is for me is we all expect the politicians and the elite to be disgusting. But if it's like Andrew Huberman or this guy, or someone who we think is our person, do you know what I mean? Like, there's something different about that, where it's like, yeah, but he's like one of us. He's a health guru. What? And, there's this kind of jarring.
He's definitely like a bit of a side, like an anomaly to the lineup.
Yeah, because all the rest, you think, okay, yes, Bill Clinton. You've got an email from Bill Gates to Epstein saying, I contracted an STT from that Russian child. Have you got any antibiotics? Because I've now given it to my wife, Melinda, whatever. Bill Clinton, not Bill Gates's wife. He gave an STD to his wife from going to the island, and it's all in the emails. Him saying, "I'm going to need to get some antibiotics for her and for me." You just can't even believe what you're reading.
Yeah,
And
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not like it. Doesn't. It's. I don't know. I'm just so like I've separated myself from the news, I guess, just because. But I'm just not surprised, and I'm just so fucking flabbergasted that these are the people we choose to run our country. Like, this is the best we've got. Bunch of bloody pervs. Like, the sickest growth. It's just, it's man, it's
it's
unbelievable.
so
It's like a
grotesque.
cesspool. It's a
Yeah.
cesspool, and there's no one. Doesn't seem like anybody's above it. You know.
But then I was thinking about it and I thought, well, a lot of these are unelected businessmen that nobody chose.
Yeah.
Nobody voted for these people that are running the show. And I'm trying to figure out, because, that sliding scale of heaven and hell, like in moments like this, you think there is most definitely, these people believe they are not atheistic people. They believe fully in the spiritual realm. They're obsessed with blood and rituals and satanic
Mm,
practices. They want to dumb down the population to not believe.
mm,
I remember when I left Christianity and I thought I was being really unique. And then I started to do later on a deep dive into bloodline of the Illuminati, and I heard accounts of people like this, where I first
mm,
started to get exposed to satanic ritual abuse and some of the things that politicians are into, because I listened to the account of this girl, Anna, who in the 1980s lived in Belgium, and her mother sold her to the politicians and the elite in
mm,
Belgium. And she then, decades later, has come forward with her account of what she experienced. And it was very in keeping with what's been exposed now. It's very, very consistent.
mm,
And one thing that I remember hearing was I can't remember whether it was her or someone else saying, you know, people not believing in God and people being atheistic is exactly where they want the population to be. Because when people believe in a higher power, they are much less likely to go along with mandates. And, if people don't have something that is what they're kind of answerable to, is beyond government, is, I answer to a higher power or whatever. And you saw during lockdown where Christians couldn't go to church anymore and they were kind of blocked from practicing their faith. And they quickly got an awareness, more so maybe than other people who trusted our government, that they've got our best interests at heart, that actually the elite, this is kind of my takeaway, is the elite want the population to be unspiritual, to not believe in a higher power, because they themselves do believe in these things, because they encounter the dark side of the spiritual entities. They really do know it's real, and it's
yeah.
just, it's sickening.
It's yeah. Is there anything with Trudeau or Carney or any of our Canadian politicians in there?
I haven't seen that yet, but I think right now there's huge amounts of focus on Prince Andrew, Trump, and Bill Gates. And Bill Clinton.
Oh, I hope Bill
Just,
Gates just gets locked up.
oh man, it's disgusting. And it's
So
just not shocking, but
it's not shocking, and also, I don't know. I was listening to the Redacted show that I sometimes dip into, and they feel like it's a huge distraction to something bigger going on with China and Russia, and like I don't know. I don't know if you've apparently. I also, because I follow crypto, and apparently the people that founded Bitcoin and Ripple were also in the Epstein files. So
Really?
Bitcoin's
Yeah.
down to $100,000 now, I think, where it was almost 200,000.
Right. Great time to buy.
I know.
And silver and gold just took a nosedive, the biggest
It did.
nosedive in
Yeah, well,
history.
that's the thing that they're, and I didn't watch it through, but that's what they're saying is the big. They think we're, because Trump was just at the World Economic Forum, right? And they
Mm,
think it's just, this is part of the reset.
mm.
But I just don't have faith that anyone's going to be put behind bars for this. Like, I just don't have faith that anything's going to happen. Like, I feel like the government knows that they can shock, that people will be shocked, and then they'll just put something else out, and it will
I
just,
agree.
the same with the fact that, you know, Fauci is just living the life of
Mm,
Riley right now, and he's a
yeah,
murderer.
yeah,
He almost got, retirement with honors,
yeah.
and so I just don't have any faith that all of this craziness that everyone's losing their minds over is actually going to amount to anyone being put behind bars, or
I agree.
and that's what's just like makes me not want to look at it, because I'm just like,
Mm,
no, I'm going to get all my hopes up that there's going to be
yeah,
justice, and there won't be.
no.
And I was thinking of that last night when I knew we were going to talk about this today, and I was thinking nothing ever changes. And then I'm like, you know what, though, in history, the only way things, like when you look at the French Revolution, God forbid we go, but it seems like that's the only thing that will create big reform, is a
And
massive uprising of the people. And you wonder whether we're heading in that direction with, the dawn of AI, and the fact that people keep saying, like, all of the wealth is going to be held by 20 or 30 people.
mm,
And the masses are going to be able to overrun and take them down. Like, that's what happened in the French Revolution, right? The
mm,
aristocracy were destroyed by the people, and a lot of blood was spilt. But I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like, well, it's patterns, right? What you talk about,
mm,
noticing the patterns.
mm,
And it's like, yeah, ever since when I thought there'd be justice from COVID, there's been no apologies. There's been
mm,
no public apologies for it. And you just get kind of jaded and think,
mm,
even though this is like the worst thing, like, if you were to say, a month ago, oh, they're going to release pictures of Andrew, molesting some little girl, or Donald Trump giving Clinton a blowjob, he'd be like, yeah, no, that wouldn't happen because he'll be arrested right away. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah, well, he's still flying around on his jet doing political
I,
things.
I
You gotta
know.
wonder, how do you look at, like, when you know that there's shit of you online that's just the most, like, how do you not just go into the cave?
Yeah, with shame,
But no, you go on television. It's all
brazen.
fake news, or whatever they say. It's like, wow. But
Well,
maybe if everyone in your orbit has been doing the same thing too, you're just like, I don't know,
well,
I go down, you go down.
if you own the law, you just think, well, you can't touch me. I've often thought of that with Trudeau, is how does he walk with his head held high? Well, you have to be delusional for a starter. But there's no other option in some ways in their world, because I don't know. I mean, obviously they're very, very mentally ill people. And so, and that actually feeds into my thing that I've wanted to, when I've observed, like, how do abusers thrive? This is more like in a relational, but it's kind of similar in that they have to have someone who carries their guilt and shame for them, and then they can thrive. So, um, I wonder whether in some ways these elite do a similar thing, whereas the amount of blame and gaslighting that they can do of the public, someone else has to carry their shit so that they can continue to thrive. And that's the same when you boil it down to abusive relationships, is that what I've started to kind of notice is that you can thrive as an abusive person, but only if you have an elected person in your life who carries your guilt and shame for you. And
how's that work?
well, I think that's why, I mean, this is definitely, I could thread it to what we're talking about with the government, but it just kind of jogged my memory about something I've mentioned to you, like, oh, I want to talk about this. So this is a
Psychological abuse.
segue, as they like to say, psychological abuse. I was thinking about it as it's kind of impacted my life, because people say to me, oh, no, they're not there's no way that person's really thriving. There's no way that they're actually doing well. And my response is, well, you could have fooled me, because I've lived very closely with people that are like that, and they seem really damn happy, and they seem to be thriving, and by all accounts they are thriving. And so it's made me kind of peel back the layers and go, how do they thrive? And the only thing that makes sense to me is if they elect someone else, because people like that who are abusive, psychologically abusive people, or abusive people in general, have so much guilt and shame that they're not facing, because their behavior is sometimes so appalling. And I just kind of, I mean, I've got no anything to back me up. This is just my own musings. That the only thing that makes sense to me, and why you hear so much that an empath will almost always be with close to someone that's abusive, is because they target the empath, because the empath willingly carries someone else's shame and guilt. Because an empath, for example, in my situation, let's say that my husband has an affair and then blames me because I wasn't giving him enough attention. And
Mm,
I then take on the blame for that situation and carry the guilt and shame and go, well, it
mm,
was my fault. And you saw me do that.
mm-hmm.
And thought, that's just unbelievable that she could get
Yeah,
to
the
that.
mental gymnastics
How
to.
do you land there? Well, I was thinking about that a lot, and that's obviously been repeated many times in my life. How did I get there? Well, that person elected me instead of carrying the guilt and shame themselves and playing vigil and repentance and all this stuff. I'm going to blame and gaslight the empath in the room, and they can carry my guilt and shame. And because empaths are often very self-critical, you willingly go there. What was my part to play? And unfortunately, I think a lot of the time, when you listen to psychologists, they will say, well, it takes two to tango. If someone has an affair, you can be sure that their partner is somewhat to blame. And so you kind of, it's not hard to see what you want to see and bend that and go, well, they've said that I do have a part to play. I am. And there is an element of truth in that.
Mm-hmm.
That often, there was I wasn't paying attention. I was focused on the kids. And so it's very, very easy to get information to support your belief system and
Mm-hmm.
reinforce it. And then you've got the other person also reinforcing it, going, well, it always takes two in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I find really disconcerting about how we create narratives in our mind that are often not great for us. And yet there's always something out there that we can use to support the decision we're making at that time.
Yeah, and
Annoyingly.
well, yeah, and it does tie into the epidemic that we've heard so much about, where you know, people people blame, it's because of my childhood. That's just the way I am. It's because um I can't go to the gym and work out because I have anxiety around people, so that's why I'm 300 pounds. And we're just always projecting our issues, blaming something outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel better about the place that we're at.
And there's always
It's not my
something out
fault that I
there.
hit that kid. It's because Apple made this phone that's so distracting. I just couldn't help myself. Sue Apple. What did someone sue Tesla because they fell asleep at the wheel because Tesla had such good seat warmers that it made them go to sleep? So they tried to sue Tesla. It's Tesla's fault.
Amazing. Amazing. But I
Yeah, I mean,
realized that's how you, if you've got a disposition. So in my case, I'm very self-critical, and I I often go to guilt as my go-to emotion. Is I feel guilty about something, and then it's not hard to find something out there to support my position and justify. I will take the blame for this. I will carry the guilt and shame. And so unfortunately, what I realized where you can come out of that, and what I've realized is it was a prayer for me, but it doesn't have to be a prayer. Where I said in my relationship, reveal to me the heart of this person, show me who they are, because I started to realize that so often we have a feeling about someone and we choose to look away instead of stare at it and actually move towards it, because we only see what we want to see. So in my situation, for many, many years, I only saw what I wanted to see. And then I started saying every day, reveal to me the heart of this person. And I was thinking about why that I called it a prayer, but actually it's not a prayer. I think it can work whether you're spiritual or not. What I realize is it's choosing to turn towards instead of looking away. And whenever you're willing to see someone for who they really are, then who they really are presents itself to you. But so often we go through life with blinkers because we really don't want to see the truth. And for me, I saw what I wanted to see. I looked away when I should have stared and gone, reveal to me this person. And it's like a moving away from cognitive dissonance. So on a really practical level, if you don't want to over spiritualize it, you're choosing to turn towards and not be in denial anymore and actually see this person for who they are. It's probably the most terrifying decision, I think. In a relationship, because you don't pray that prayer or think that thought about people that you have no reservations about. You say that to yourself when you've got a funny feeling about a person and you've not wanted to address it and not wanted to really be honest with yourself about it. And then for me, when I turn towards and go, I am willing to see who this person is, that's a really terrifying moment.
Yeah. Because then there's a requirement, right? Because then it's like you've pulled on the thread.
There's accountability to yourself.
Yeah. Now you've pulled the curtain back, and then you
Yeah.
can't put it back. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. And then you're required to make a decision based on what you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it's probably the most terrifying decision you can make, to turn towards and see someone for who they really are, whether that be in a prayer or just a cognitive decision. I'm not going to pretend anymore. I'm not going to have blinkers on. I'm going to see them for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're a genuinely good person, that would reveal, oh, wow, they've got an amazing heart. But we already know that with people that are good, because we don't have to do those things. You know, when you are with someone or around someone who you have no reservation and you think, you don't even think what's interesting about difficult people and abusive people, whatever you want to call them, I'll call them difficult people, is they create so much complexity in yourself because they scramble you and confuse you. For me, if you've got a person that's genuinely loving, there's no complexity there in your relationship with them. It's just very simple. And there's an understanding that they've got your back. And then if you have someone in your life that's a difficult person, the amount of complex emotion and, oh, I should have, but I didn't. I feel guilty now. Maybe I should go back and say sorry because they're going to do this. And it's just amazing the amount of bandwidth they use up. And I really noticed that.
Yeah. And then other people can see it. Other people that aren't as close to it can see it super clearly, right? Like I remember in Kamloops when, the leader of the church that I was in, Nolan, mom and dad came for my wedding, and we were sitting in someone's house just having dinner, and everyone was having a good old time just hanging out. And then Nolan walked in, and it was just another night for me. But when I came home and mom and dad were driving me back, mom and dad were like, everyone, he said, when he walked in the room, all of you guys rolled on your backs like dogs. No.
Really?
We didn't actually do that, but she said
No.
we could palpably sense that you guys were all, that the whole energy in the room shifted to
Wow.
this subservient, oh, now the king's arrived.
Yeah.
And they had obviously come out of a spiritually abusive situation, so they were really aware of it. But I was like, you crazy. Like, nah,
Mm,
you're just reading into it, but they could see it as clear as day.
mm,
And I had to learn that for myself, a long and painful road. That's
mm,
actually what was going on. But
mm. I
yeah,
remember a story that you told me about that time, probably later on, where you and your wife at the time were broke, and Nolan paid for you to go away for a night in a hotel.
mm,
So he was generous towards you. And then he raided your apartment while you were gone, if my memory serves me, and found a Spice Girls album and berated you for owning it
but yeah,
because
just like
it's
talked to me for like an hour on the phone, would not let me hang up.
while you were at this hotel.
Completely hijacked the whole time. Like it was,
To me, that
yeah,
is
it was,
just such a classic thing that he
yeah.
would. Then you're conflicted because this guy's just been generous with you.
Mm,
He's also violated you.
mm,
You can't really talk back because you're actually enjoying or trying to enjoy his generous gift, and he's
mm-hmm,
created leverage because he's got that on you.
mm,
Like you're enjoying in a hotel at his expense, so therefore he almost has this kind of right to be able to have an opinion about how you live your life
mm-hmm,
and violate your space. Like all
mm-hmm.
of that is so fucked up.
And it's very, looking back on it now, it's like, that's just, if you talk to any kind of like behavioral therapist, they'd be
Oh,
like, oh, that is
classic.
classic abuse. Like,
Yeah,
like
101.
cult leader.
Clean. That's like a beautiful example that we could use in a psychology class
Mm,
about how abusive and how confusing it is to be in that.
mm.
Because you might not, but you probably would have had conflicted feelings. Like,
Well, I
oh,
remember it. I remember it
yeah.
as clear as day. Yeah. I mean,
And I
we
think
were in
he
Vernon
took
in the
money
vent.
himself and put that on his credit card. Did he not? Your hotel room. I thought that he paid for your hotel room on his
Yeah,
credit card.
we were so broke, and we were in Vernon, went to this hotel, and then the whole night, and then Jen was super mad at me that I didn't stand up to him. So I was so conflicted because there's this man who's your mentor. He's supposed to be this man of God, and then Jen, it created so much friction in our relationship because she was like, why didn't you just hang up the phone? And
Yeah.
so now me and her are in a fight because I'm like, no, I need to submit to this cult leader, which is what it was. And then I remember we got in the car the next day and we said, let's just drive. And we had no money, and we just drove towards Calgary. It felt like we were just running away from the abusive parents. Like it felt so good. The further, and I remember this feeling, and I couldn't quite put words to it, but the further we got away from that geographical place, the lighter we started to feel, and we started to laugh and have fun. And then we found this little B&B, and I paid for it with a check that bounced. That was when you could write a check, right, for
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. And then I knew for sure there was no money in the bank, and it bounced. And I think I mailed the money, and then we had to go back into the fire, right? You have to drive back, and I remember us feeling like, wow, that felt like a little escape,
And how long
where
was it
the
then?
eye of Sauron couldn't see you.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
That's
And
what
how
it felt.
long?
That's literally how it felt. Felt like the eye of Sauron. We found a place where his eye didn't see.
Which is crazy because if he were to listen to this, he'd be like, man, it was good times, man. His probably
Mm,
would not realize that the impact of being in a captive situation that you guys
mm,
were, and probably were on your way to breaking some sort of chemical addiction to him. Like
mm-hmm,
there was something, because that's why I think you're right when they say cut that person off, no contact, because it's this term that I've heard called lumerance, which is where you basically you meet someone and it activates this chemical obsession, like a
Mm-hmm.
very addictive relationship. It's actually called lumerance, which I found quite interesting. I've only just heard of that word.
Mm.
Um,
Interesting.
and the foundation of why people develop lumerance is usually because they don't have enough going on in their life, like they're vulnerable. They don't have enough of a life, and that's why those types pick on young people that perhaps haven't figured out what they're doing in life, don't have a sense of purpose. Those types are really vulnerable to a strong personality coming in saying, I've got this, I'm going this place, come on for the ride, I'll take care of you. And young people particularly can be really susceptible, or someone who just doesn't have enough going on in their life, doesn't have enough interests, hobbies, passions. They're a sitting duck for a big personality entering their life
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of sweeping them away.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy I was listening to yesterday was saying how almost always when someone comes to him who is in an addictive relationship, he'll ask them, tell me what your interests are, what are you doing with your time, what are you passionate about? And almost always they haven't got any of those things in place. And so when they try and cut off from that person, it doesn't always work because they're just sitting in loneliness then. Whereas, for example, when you and Jen left and went to Vancouver and you were going to start the band, maybe part of the reason it worked so well to make that clean break is you had a vision of, we're out of here. And by the way, we've got an idea about what we want to do. And you were just going for it. Whereas if you had moved up the street and just kind of white knuckled it, maybe it wouldn't have worked so well. You literally had to physically remove yourself and then find a new sense of purpose.
Well, I know for that specific situation, moving to England for a year to help mom build the house because dad died, that our marriage was on the rocks then, big time, mostly because of Kamloops,
Yeah.
and we were in England for, I don't know, 8 months. And in that time, our marriage went to like where she was going to move back to Canada and I was going to be back in England, and it was over to me finally facing the fact that maybe I was involved in something that was not God.
Mhm.
And that took a massive step for me because I remember we would walk around mom's house in Exeter and fight. Be like, no, because Nolan convinced me that I was his prodigy.
Mm.
I was the one that was closer to him than anyone else. And he would attract people because I know other people now that took my place when it
Mm.
was the same thing. And it was like blood brothers,
Yeah.
you know.
You were his supply.
Yeah, they would give you your soul, like I will serve you, and so you're scanning from his perspective, he's probably subconsciously scanning for that person, right? And then I
Mm.
was available. And then when I finally faced in England after about 3 months in being there, because there was no cell phone, so you couldn't
Yeah.
connect,
Wasn't it
which is
great?
great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there would have been a thread there, like there would have been a constant thread being kept alive, like an ember.
Mm.
And finally, I was like, maybe I got conned. Maybe
So
I got
do
ripped
you
off.
remember that moment?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was self-awareness. Like I humbled myself to admit that maybe I'd been duped. And then it was like, thank God.
Mm.
It was like, I just suddenly saw it for what it was. And I was like, I saw everything. And it was like seeing the Matrix. It was 100% like seeing the Matrix.
So
And
do
then
you
when we,
think the barrier initially was quite humbling to tell yourself you've been duped, but then the
yeah.
liberation afterwards? But once you kind of push through that, then you were
Yeah, and then
fine.
it was just embarrassing, and then it was just remorseful because I've wasted, and then I just saw this is just a human being. This isn't some anointed person, like gifted. It's just a human. Like he's like, and so the power came out of it. So
Mm.
then when I went back to Kamloops after 8 months, Nolan just could not deal with the fact that I no longer saw him as a chosen person. Like he could not handle that. And so the power had gone out of it, and it went from trying to shake it back into me to realizing there was no getting through, and then quickly moved on
Mm,
to another victim or victims,
mm.
realizing that yeah, he's probably, there's no getting him back. And um I mean, there's a lot in there, like a lot, and it still makes me nervous to talk about it, which is really weird because the person's
Why do
still
you think?
there.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Probably the same reason why maybe you feel a bit nervous about talking about Joseph.
Mm. Well, I got kids involved.
Yeah, you do.
I it's curious to me because this is probably what, 20, 25 years for you?
Yeah, I guess because I'm not a mean person, so you still have the ability to hurt someone's feelings, right? By
Yeah.
speaking your truth, by me speaking my truth. But I know that there's probably some release in that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Maybe there is a thread of,
I
I don't
just
know.
wonder whether you can hurt someone like that, whether they would even allow themselves to be hurt.
Hmm.
Because I think what it would be met with is defensiveness and deflection and projection and all of the mechanisms that's helped him survive as far as he has.
Hmm.
That
Yeah, I mean,
those
when
people,
he would use the devil as his scapegoat.
yeah,
It's like,
what
oh,
that
the
he
devil's
was
trying to take me out. The devil's trying to snuff
right.
me. I'm I'm doing God's work, and if you look in the Bible, you can find any story to suit your place in life, like the lonely chapter. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
going through the lonely chapter right now.
I'm
I'm in
Job.
the wilderness. Yeah, I'm in the
Yeah,
wilderness, and I will come out and so yeah, the whole world is going to turn against me, and this is part of that story. So of course, people are talking bad about me because that's just because I'm a
mm,
chosen person, and Jesus got crucified.
yeah,
And
and
so you can
yeah, they
bend it
see
any
what they
which
want
way
to
you want
see.
it.
Which is
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying, is that unfortunately, when those blinkers are on and you're not ready to awaken or whatever you want to call it, you only see what you want to see. And you
Hmm.
interpret things through that lens
Hmm.
of your level of understanding at that time. So for me, I'd be like, no, I'm to blame for this. This is definitely my doing. And everyone else has got their head in their hands. But based on my understanding at the time, that's as much as I could see. And those were the lenses that I had on. And it
Hmm.
couldn't be any other way. And it's just excruciating for onlookers to see that, because they've got to walk this out and might never in their lifetime. Certainly, like in the case of Nolan and difficult people, you're almost certainly dealing with personality disorders. So the chances of them going, I get it, I'm going to repent and make amends and spend the rest of my life devoted to making amends for the damage I've done,
Hmm.
it's such a slim possibility, because they are probably need to be medicated. They have a lot of neurological things going on. It's unfortunate because, similar to like our leaders, we're not going to get the satisfaction of them. I mean, how would that even look? They would just probably just disappear into the wilderness in shame.
Hmm.
I don't even know. But what's interesting is the woman that I did a deep dive into, who was from Belgium, she said what's hard for people to understand, because she was spending her childhood in castles and stately homes with the elite, with the affluent, the politicians, the royal families. She was encountering the upper echelon of that society. And she said, because of the amount of money and the kind of mystique that surrounds those people, it's hard for us to understand just how imprisoned they are and the level of abuse they've suffered in their childhood. And that many, many of these people have been raped by their own parents and suffered horrific abuse. And they are trapped, and the only kind of thing they've got is a lot of money. But other than that, they are trapped in a system where their bloodline, they can't marry who they want to marry because of this obsession with bloodline. They are handled by people. They have no control of their life, and they have an acute history of abuse. And they repeat it because when they're doing these acts, they're trying to heal themselves, is what her take was, is that almost always in her experience of being abused by these people is they'll reach a point of vulnerability where they become a childlike, and you realize that these are victims of horrific abuse themselves, and that they've almost kind of got no hope of getting out of this cycle, and yet they're in powerful positions and just awful. But she said, their stories are desperately sad, and it's just really kind of the illusion that we get is, oh, it must be nice for them on their yachts. And she said it's not the case. When you actually hear their stories, their childhoods are often really, really disturbing and horrible, and
Mm.
they're totally trapped. So it kind of made me think, it doesn't justify it, but it explains the level, like that's their only exposure has been a inversion of, nurture, and everything's just been really, really destructive in their life.
Yeah, and a lot of these abusive practices, or even like buying expensive stuff, it's numbing. You're trying to feel something again.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
like, and then there's levels to. I mean, if you go down the road of sexual weirdness, the levels just keep going up. You just level up. Like now
Yeah.
we have to do a younger and younger person, and
Yeah.
now we have to, cut them, and now it's like drinking the blood. I mean, that's just the human. Now I've got a 70-foot yacht. Now I need an 80-foot yacht. Now I need a 100-foot yacht. Now I need 10 billion. It's just
It's
greed.
it's
It's
hard
greed
to
and
get.
lust and
Yeah.
just no guardrails on. I've had enough to eat. And I'll
Uh,
eat. It's like the Romans did, right? They eat
uh,
till they throw up, then they make themselves throw up, and then keep eating more. It's like when there's no guardrails, when you have limitless power and limitless money, yeah, you just gorge.
it's just hard to really understand, why do you guys want to do that? And that's where one thing that she said, and this is consistent again with what we see now with the amount of footage, is they will purposefully get these young politicians who they're grooming to be in positions of power, get them to become members of these secret societies, get them to do things that are shameful, have it all recorded
Yeah,
and
yeah.
filmed, and then hold that against them, over
Leverage.
them. Yeah, and she said it's a very simple kind of structure of how they hang it over them. Like a lot of these leaders go through the London School of Economics, and that's one of the places where these people get initiated into these secret societies,
Mm-hmm.
and then they've got them like their whole life, like, oh well, we'll expose you if you don't
Mm-hmm.
do it. And it's just this kind of cycle. But I think what's always odd at a time like this is to think, so that's who's ruling the world. Like, what? It's just so weird.
Depressing.
Yeah, to think,
That's the best we got.
wow, how do we get out of this cycle?
Yeah, yeah, and it runs
You
so
know?
deep, right? What
Yeah.
is who's the conspiracy guy? I always forget his name. The guy who talks about the mangrove and
Oh, Alex.
Alex. Yeah, I mean,
Alex.
he's been saying this forever, right?
Yeah.
He's that
Yeah.
guy's a total
Bohemian
crock.
Grove. Bohemian
Bohemian
Grove.
Grove,
Yeah.
burning
It,
effigies of children and
yeah. Yeah. Oh, Alex
Alex.
Jones.
Yeah.
And everyone says he's bonkers. But what's interesting is when something like this happens, you realize it's all consistent.
Mm-hmm.
The stories are all consistent. I wonder whether there's some people that, this is what's interesting. And this is what I wonder might be one tiny silver lining from this, is that if you were someone who doesn't believe in the spiritual realm, and that veil gets pulled back and you see the horrors of satanic, demonic activity, which, people reading this stuff are really struggling with the awareness of how demonic this stuff is. And so I wonder whether, as a result of that, some people might say, well, how can a God exist if he allows this to happen? That's one angle. The others might say, well, if this level of spiritual Satanism exists, then surely the what would you call it? The opposite. What about, would this mean that people want to lean in to, I want to get my life in order. Like, I can't bear this darkness. This darkness is so dark. There must be a higher power, or the polarity. And for some people, they would see that darkness and go, God can't exist, because else why would he allow this to happen? Or other people might go, there's got to be a polarity to this.
If there's an evil, there's a good.
Yeah. Or, wow, there must be a spiritual realm. And if there's a spiritual realm of darkness, is there also a spiritual realm of light?
And it's crazy how when you look historically, when you look at our ancestors, that's all they believed. And we have to go consult with the spirits. We have to consult with, and that's the way it all began. And now we've become so materialistic that the spiritual doesn't exist, and it all has to be science-based.
And then this gets revealed, and it's like, oh, we're barbaric after all. It's like totally barbaric behavior, like child sacrifice, human sacrifice, like the worst of the worst. The reason why supposedly like the flood happened. And it's all rumbling going on underground, and actually we're just barbaric. Like, wow. I think I would just be fascinated to talk to someone who is experiencing this for the first time, and perhaps having that moment, like we talk about those moments of awakening, like JFK assassination, lockdown, various 9/11. And for some people, this might be that moment where they're like, this is fucked up. There's got to be more to life. Like, what is going on here? I'm getting really disillusioned. I put my faith in our leaders, and I thought that they had our best interest at heart. And now Bill Gates is, for some people, that might be, they might have still been holding out for these guys, believing. And I guess for some people who like love Trump, this might be their moment where they're like, oh my goodness, I'm disillusioned by Trump. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a definite, people are moving towards God these days.
Yeah.
I was just in my Rad Dads group, just a bunch of dads, and this one guy's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start reading the Bible now."
Yeah, wow.
And I'm like, "Sure you want to do
Fascinating.
that?" But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't have my hopes. I don't have my hopes up for this actually getting the results that we think it should get. I bet Candace Owens is rattling on like this, like hardcore.
Haven't even. No,
I haven't gone there.
No.
But I am intrigued now.
Yeah, well, prepare thyself. Have a bucket ready.
I know.
Because I can't, my problem is, I've exposed myself. I'm like, why do I feel nauseous today? Why am I really struggling? Oh, I've just seen some really disturbing. The same thing happened with Kirk, Charlie Kirk. For a couple of days, it took me a while to normalize, because I just saw something so graphic that a human should not be seeing. And I've seen some footage where the screams of children are just so like disturbing. You just can't.
Oh.
It's really, really rough. And I mean, you might not see, your thread might be sunshine and daisies over there.
It is sunshine and daisies
how
over here.
to build a composting toilet. And dome tents.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, I've got this like grisly paedophilia and demonic. What I've noticed is really interesting and disturbing is that in the day, my feed, if I go on there, will be, how to make quick money off, junk disposal. And then as the day wears on, as you get into the evening, what imposes on me is much darker stories. It will be like accidents.
Bedtime stories.
Well, accidents where near death, people falling out of harnesses and falling to their death. And I'm like, I was great all day, and now my feed is full of much more pessimistic stuff.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they rig it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you're tired. We want to get you a little bit despondent about life. Very weird.
Yeah. The web.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, there we go.
we talked about a lot. We talked about poop.
Abuse.
Abuse. Good mix.
And crawling under cottages with frozen pipes.
Yeah.
So we got it covered. Cool. Well,
cool,
good
Abs.
to talk.
Good to talk.
All right. Right. Good to talk. Love you.
All right. Love you, Abby.
Bye.
Bye.